Hello and welcome back to the 2019 Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship, fueled of course by Petron. As always, my name is Aaron Thompson. We're coming to you live now for race 36 of the season, but before then, a quick run down the entry list, the start list I should say. We have Elias Panin on pole position just ahead of Luca Allen and Moise Mustafa. Fourth on the grid is Fred Peters ahead of Amir Harris and Luke Thompson. Then we have Sneha Sharma, Omar Aswad and Ishraf Danish. As you can see, everybody coming to take their position on the grid. In just a moment we'll be underway. You should see at the back of the grid the green flag marshal taking his position. He will move from the right hand side of the track to the left hand side. Once you reach the left hand side, the red lights will come on, and as they extinguish we'll be underway for this, the 36th race of the season here in the second last event of 2019. All being revving up, the red lights are on, and here we go, underway once again. Elias Panin seems to get away well. Luke Allen comes across, filing in behind him to make his line. Nicely led down there by the red number 58 of Elias Panin, then Luke Allen, then Moise Mustafa, then Amir Harris. Luke Thompson side by side with the Malaysian. Sneha Sharma just behind. And rounding out the rear, Omar Aswad coming through turn 1. Luke tries to go around the outside of Sneha Sharma, going to get the better line up through turn 2 now. Amir Harris perhaps slightly in his way there. As we come around turn 3 now, Elias Panin taking us down. We've seen Luke Allen make a move here previously. In the first race he overtook along the outside, but Elias is going to be prepared for that at this point. You can see the distance between the two cars, very slow, very small though. In the first sector, Luca going slightly faster, so he seems to have gotten the better start. Although he does of course have the slipstream advantage, but down through turn 5 and 6 actually makes it harder for you, because you're of course sucked into the aero downwash. Lose a little bit. We saw somebody going a little bit wide on the outside there at turn 6. That would be Amir Harris. Hope he's okay. Seems like he rejoined over wide again, coming out of turn 9 or turn 8 I should say there from Amir Harris, side by side now with Sneha Sharma. Luke Allen still looking up the rear of Elias Panin, the blue number 3 car, trying to attack the red number 58 in the second sector. Elias Panin, fastest man on track, 29.986. Luca 2/10 slower, so he's got to keep up behind Elias. He can't let the red car, the fiery Finn, slip away from him. Moise Mustafa, of course, using this to his advantage as well as they come around turn 12 now. Elias Panin cresting the corner at turn 14. Nobody close enough to make a move. We have seen some action here before. Of course, we now see Young and Adam Callan and a few other drivers, if I'm not mistaken, as we come down the back straight now. You can see Luca ducking in behind Elias, trying to get the slipstream advantage, but in these F4 cars, it's not the turbo boost it is in some other series. As you come around turn 15 now, Luca having a little bit of a look, deciding against it, filing in behind Elias just instead. But the Irishman doing the faster third sector by 800ths of a second as they cross the start-finish line. Let's get an update on the gap between the two, separated by 0.3 of a second. So Luca's still in there with a shot, and Elias Panin now checking his mirrors to see what Luca's going to do. Luca has a little look up the inside, decides against it. Maybe going to have a dive up the outside, but no, he's not quite close enough. Decides to file in behind the Finn and try and get the slipstream up into turn 4, make a move there, or perhaps even down into turn 9. Although Luca does seem to run a little bit onto the rumble strip there at turn 2. That will cause him a little bit of time. He may have scrubbed his first sector. He may now need a little bit more time to catch back up to the man in front of him. Last time around, though, Elias faster in the last 2 sectors. That's an interesting change of events here at the Spang International Circuit. Luca Allen actually still faster in the final 2 sectors, and Elias still faster in the first 2 sectors. That's what we've been seeing all weekend, really. Elias has time in the first 2 sectors, and then Luca in the second 2 sectors, and towards the end of the race it tends to reverse a little bit, so that's interesting. As we come through turn 6 now, you can see Amir Harris here fighting with Sneha Sharma. We saw him go very wide earlier on at that corner 6, and that seemed to have propelled him outside of turn 7 and 8 as well. Hopefully everything okay for him. Of course, the Malaysian trying to get back up there. Fantastic drive from him in the last session as we come around turn 9. Now Elias Panin still leading the pack, just ahead of Luke Allen. The two drivers this weekend been tussling for first position, but this time out, Elias Panin seems to have the better line, because he's going faster in the first two sectors, and he's setting the faster. Well, actually, last lap, Luke Allen, the faster man on track, 2:20.169, at least on the starting lap. We're going to have a real indication of the pace as they come across the start finish now in just 2 more corners, or 1 more corner even, I should say. Down the back straight comes Elias Panin, the red number 58, leading Luke Allen, the blue number 3, just ahead of what would be Maurice Mustafa in the pink number 13, while Luke Thompson tries to catch up to the pack in front, but you can see the gap between himself and the Malaysian rocket is quite significant. I would estimate about 2 seconds, so he's got a lot of work there, does the Irishman. Speaking of Irishmen, let's talk about Luke Allen. Luke all over the back of the red number 58 car, trying to find a way past at turn 15, but not quite close enough. Looked to me like he maybe braked a little bit later than Elias, and then had tried to go around, didn't have enough space, had to brake again, so that might have scrubbed a bit of time from him. Elias Panin, though, faster in the first 3 sectors, sets the fastest lap of the race so far by 0.02 of a second. Luke Allen making the time back in the final sector, where he found 2/10 over the Finn. Coming around turn 1 now, Elias leading in his red number 58, driving of course for Finland as he has all year. Fantastic event for him last time out at Sepang, where he won 3 out of 4 races. Not quite the outcome he wanted this time out. Luke Allen has in fact won 3 out of 4 races so far, but the Finn now on track to put it on the top step here in the final race, in the penultimate event of the season. Coming around turn 4 though, you can see the gap between the two drivers is very, very small indeed. At the start of the lap it was 0.3 of a second. The two going to be tussling until the end of the race, I'm sure. As we can see further back down the grid, Amir Harris still fighting with Sneha Sharma as the leaders take us through corner 6 now. A little bit past the rumble strip there for Luke Allen. The rumble strips here are almost pyramid shaped, so if you go a little bit too far over on them, they do suck you out even further, and that's probably what happened there to the Irish driver. As we come down into turn 9 though, you can see the braking point here somewhere between the 100 and the 50-meter marker, depending on who you are and what you're trying to do this lap. Luke Allen though, determined to get past the man in front of him, the red number 58, Elias Panin. Of course, he's going to be braking as late as possible, but everybody on track is doing exactly that. Although in the first sector, Luke Allen purple, 29.378, purple by 0.13 of a second. So that's that's how close it is here. Of course, all of these cars, of course, Formula 4 is a one-team championship. All of these cars as equal as they can possibly be, all fueled with Petron Ron 100, all using the Petron Blaze Racing engine oil. Of course, all on the same hand-cooked tires, the same chassis, the same team running all participants, so it's really equal racing. It's just about who can find the most time on track, which makes it very interesting to watch. As you can see here further down the order, the purple number 9 is under attack from the blue number 19 of Amir Harris. Harris going to the outside, coming down into turn 15. It's an off-camber corner. He may try to switch back. Looks like he's got a little bit of a lock up there, a little bit squirrely under braking into turn 15. As we just said, may need to have a look at the brake bias on that car. The driver has the ability to adjust the brake bias. There's a little knob on the right-hand side underneath the steering wheel that he can adjust to focus the braking towards the front of the car or the rear of the car, and he may be able to play with that to avoid any further little squirrely moments. So perhaps he just braked a little bit too late as he goes around the outside of turn 1 now, trying to make a move on Sneha Sharma. Can he stick it? Not quite. Loses a bit too much time. Sharma seems to have more control over the car, at least through that sector, although Harris has performed spectacularly this weekend, doing a beautiful overtaking maneuver on Maurice Mustafa in the last race. As we come down through turn 4 now though, Elias Panin still at the front of the track, ahead of Luke Allen and Maurice Mustafa. The Finn defending so far and trying to pull out a lead, but Luke Allen just not quite letting him do that. We can see that the gap between the two drivers is not extending by much, 0.4 of a second at the moment, although Elias Panin once again fastest man on track last time around by 1/10 of a second. This time, interestingly enough to note, Luke Allen faster in the first sector. So as we said, most of the weekend we've seen Elias Panin fastest in the first sector, but now we've got Luke Allen up there, so that might be an indication. Luke has found some pace, and he's going to have a look, because he's 1/10 up in the first sector, and Elias Panin is green, which means he's actually done the fastest first sector he's done so far this race, and Luke Allen going faster still. So I have on my screen now incident at turn 3, driver car 57 and 13 to report to the stewards after the race. So that may be an indication of what happened to Fred Peters at the start of the race. Of course, unfortunately, he wasn't present on the starting grid, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's some kind of collision between the two at turn 3 on the formation lap, which is extremely unfortunate, as Amir Harris tries to go on the rumble strip at turn 14 to get up the inside of Sneha Sharma. I haven't seen that, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a brilliant maneuver indeed, the kind of thing we hope to see from our Formula 4 drivers. But unfortunately, Amir had to back out of that opportunity, and that's cost him a lot of time down the back straight. Now he's going to have to catch that back up once again. As we cross the start-finish line, though, Luke Allen, fastest man on track by 5/800ths of a second. That's how close it is. He went faster in the first sector, faster in the last sector, and he just found 800ths of a second to close the gap back into 0.3 of a second to Elias Panin. Perhaps he'll be close enough now to make a move up the inside at turn 4 around the outside. But let's have a quick look back at turn 14. Amir Harris and Sneha Sharma, the blue number 19 of Harris. Looks like Harris may have locked up his front left, or Sneha locked up her right rear. Harris trying to go up the inside over the rumble strip. Sneha just closing the door a little bit on him, and now he had to back off, and as we said, he's going to have to catch back up to the purple number 9 at the moment. He's 7/10ths back as they cross the start-finish line. Amir Harris, though, may be able to take advantage of the battle between Elias Panin, the red number 58, and the blue number 3 of Luke Allen as they come through sector 6 now. Not sector 6, corner 6, I should say. You can see the pink number 13 just behind them. The Malaysian driver 2 seconds back, but this fight between the top two is really making things interesting and may play into his favor, as he just set his personal best, although it's a little bit too slow to catch up to the men in front of him. Let's have a look at the sector times. Elias doing a 29.275 in the first sector, and Luca doing a 29.320. Elias slightly up there, but Luca does his personal best in the second sector. Although Elias is still a little bit quicker in that sector, Luca, of course, finding some time as well. We'll have a look in a moment at sector 3 and 4, but it is an indication that the gap is staying at about 3 to 4/10ths of a second, and we've seen all weekend with Elias not quite able to make an overtake with that kind of gap, with the cars being so evenly matched. Unfortunately, we usually see a lot of action here between these two, but it seems like this weekend they just can't manage to find a way past each other. They're both driven so flawlessly, so you really have to hand it to them, especially Luca. 3 out of 4 races is no small deal as they come down the back straight now. Having a look up the inside, too far away though is Luke Allen. Let's have a look at the sector times. Well, that's the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, Elias Panin went 1.2 of a second faster in the third sector, and now he's widened that gap. It's going to be almost 5/10ths of a second as they cross the start-finish line, unless Luke Allen can do something in the fourth sector, and he does exactly that. He goes purple in the fourth sector by 7/100ths of a second and manages to keep the gap down to 4/10ths. If he can keep going like this, I'm sure he can put the pressure on the Fiery Finn and perhaps force him into a mistake or find a way past, but we know Elias Panin is cool under the pressure and can take it, and he's not going to let Luca have any chance. Luca's going to have to work very hard for this indeed. As they come across the Malaysian flag at turn 3 though, Elias Panin still the man at the front of the track, putting himself there by virtue of his second fastest time from qualifying, meaning he started at the front of the grid just ahead of Luke Allen. Got a good strong start and has led from there. Luke Allen, though, very close indeed as they come through turn 4. Let's have a look at the sector times. Yep, he's about a 10th of a second up on him in the first sector, so that's Maroui's running very wide on the outside of turn 4 as well. As we come through turn 5 and 6, though, Elias Panin managed to hold on. Of course, through these fast corners, you're going to see the gap widen a little bit, and then under braking, it's going to come down again. Both cars running a little bit wide over the rumble strip there, but perhaps that's as designed. But let's have a quick look at the start of the race now. We've got 58 on the left-hand side. That's Elias Panin, Luke Allen cutting across in the blue number 3. They all line up behind the blue number 3 with Muiz Mushafir, Amir Harris, Sneha Sharma, and Omar Aswat, while Luke Thompson tries to get alongside the blue number 19 of Amir Harris. 3 wide now as they come into the entrance. Muiz Mushafir tries to go up the inside, while Sneha seems to lock up further down the grid. And turning into turn 2 now, Elias Panin leads them through, and it's a nice clean start. A good getaway from Elias Panin as we come down through turn 12 now. Elias still at the front of the pack. You can see again the gap maybe widening just a little bit. It seems that one driver finds a little bit of time and the other driver answers, and it's just so equally matched between the two. They can't manage to find a way past each other. Although Luke Allen does do his personal best in the third sector, going
1/100th of a second faster than the man in front of him. It does seem like Elias was slightly up in the second sector, maybe by 2/10, and then Luca slightly up in the first sector, about 1/10. So I think the gap's going to be about the same as they cross the start-finish line, although it does seem to have closed significantly as we cross turn 15. Perhaps Luca finding time in the fourth sector, as we know he can do. As you can see, as they cross the start-finish line, that blue car is very, very close to the red number 58. And indeed, Elias Sapanin did a 37 dead in the fourth sector, and Luca did a 36.903. So that's about a 10th up, which means the gap is now almost exactly 3/10 of a second as Luca Allen goes fastest, on track with 2:14.799. Elias under pressure now, perhaps locking up slightly in turn 14 or 15, just off camera. As we come through turn 3 now, though, Elias seems to have done enough to keep Luca Allen at bay, at least for the first sector of this track. The next overtaking opportunity is at turn 4. Luca may be able to make something happen there, but it does seem like Elias is responding to the attack and is about 1/2 of a second up in the first sector. As we come through turn 4, Luca Allen obviously too far back to make a move, but following in the wake of the finished driver. Let's have a quick replay now, find out exactly what happened. Here we go, Snehasram in the purple number 9, locking up quite massively coming into turn 1 there. You can even see the flat spot on the screen. This driver continues to come through turn 1. That's unfortunate news for Sneha. It's going to make it really difficult for her to finish the race, but with 5 minutes, 20 seconds left to go on the board. That's only about 3 minutes, so hopefully she will be able to continue until the end of the session. Back to the front of the grid to go. We got red number 58 on screen once again. Elias Sapanin led from the first lap. Fantastic drive from him. And as we said before, not the weekend he came out here hoping for, of course, when you win 3 out of 4 races, you come back over to win the next 3 out of 4 as well, or even go 4 for 4. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, or even go 4 for 4. But this time around, of course, Luca Allen, the man on top, and that's really what we want to see. You know, it's so closely matched that you find a little bit of time here, you find your little advantage, and you take a little bit of a better line. You brake a little bit earlier, you brake a little bit later, you manage your tires better. It's all about those little details here in the Formula 4 SEA Championship. As Elias Sapanin now leads us down the back straight for lap 6. One more corner left to go. Let's have a look at the lap times. Luca slightly doing a personal best in the second sector, although still slightly slower than him on the front of him. Slightly slower in every sector so far, in fact, although the gap doesn't seem to be extending, at least under braking into 10:15. We'll have to have a look as they come across the start-finish line. Last time around, Luca Allen, the fastest man on track with 2:14.799. This time around, let's see what happens. As they cross the line, Elias Sapanin does a 2:15.029. Luca Allen does a 2:15.172. The gap now almost 5/10 of a second. So Elias responding to the challenge of the Irishman. I'm sure Luca getting a little bit frustrated. He's got to know how Elias Sapanin feels now all weekend, falling behind for himself, really. And Luca now in the opposite position, just not quite able to find the time to get past the man in front of him. As they come through turn 3 now, though, Elias Sapanin still at the front of the grid, holding on for dear life as Luca Allen goes faster in the first sector by 2/10 of a second. So it's really up and down here between the two. Someone finds the advantage at the first sector, someone finds and it's returned in the second sector. It's a fantastic thing to watch, even though it's not so much on track and more on the timing screens, as it looks like Moise Machapa locks up slightly coming into turn 3, and it seems like there's a lot of damage to his front right side pod. It looked to me like front left side pod, I should say. Looks to me like somebody's wheel came into contact with him. As we come down through turn 7 now, though, Elias Sapanin still holding on to that lead, doing very well for himself indeed here in the final race of the weekend, setting a 29.441, 1/10 of a second up on the man in front of him, responding, as we just predicted a few minutes ago, to Luca Allen's fastest first sector. So it's purple Luca, purple Elias, purple Luca, purple Elias, and it just goes back and forth, and neither can manage to find a way to get past the man in front of him. Of course, Luca getting the advantage in one sector, getting the higher top speed by virtue of the downstream, and then getting a slower speed in the next sector where there's a lot of corners and you're stuck in the aero wash. So that's exactly what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen. Neither of these drivers are so equally matched. The cars are so similar that they just can't find a way past each other. As we come down the back straight now, though, you can see Elias looking, have a quick look in his mirrors, and Luca Allen just waiting patiently, hoping for something to happen, trying to find a way past the fiery Finn. Both drivers doing a 39.1 in the third sector. Luca just a little bit slower, 0.05 of a second, but that's what it is here this weekend between these two drivers, as we have Moise Mshafa in 3rd position, just ahead of Luke Thompson in the red number 42. Luke driving well, managed to get himself a 2nd position in the last race. Meanwhile, Moise is on track for his third position this weekend. A strong drive for the Malaysian. And let's have a look further down the grid. We got Amir Harris in 5th. Amir driving well as well, especially considering it's only his 2nd time out in the car. Oh, look at this, a fake by Luke Allen. He fakes to the inside, he goes back to the outside. Is he going to have a look to go all the way around at turn 1 and try to get up the inside at turn 2? Not quite. He was almost close enough to make it happen. Elias definitely went for the fake, but the Irish driver just not quite fast enough to carry enough momentum around the outside at turn 1 to take the overtake at turn 2. But you can see the distance between the two cars is very close indeed, and Luke Allen setting the fastest lap time by about 0.2 of a second in the last lap. Can he go around the outside at turn 4? He has a little bit of a fake again before trying, but decides against it. Slots in behind the fin and may make a move coming into turn 5 and 6, but you've got to be very fast indeed to try and do something here. We've seen Luca make overtakes at turn 6 as well, although I'm sure that didn't end so well for him the last time around, so he may not try it this time, especially not with the fiery fin. As we come down into turn 7 now, though, Luca has obviously scrubbed a little bit of time trying to make the overtake, and it seems like Elias is now out of danger, at least for this lap, which I presume will be either the last lap or the 2nd last lap, as there's only 44 seconds left on the board. As we come down into turn 9, though, it definitely seems like Luca scrubbed some time in the 2nd sector. We can see it on screen. He lost about 0.3. Now the gap is back up to 0.6 of a second, and that may be it, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Allen tried for it. He had a fantastic drive, but I think it just wasn't enough in the end. And I can see the last lap now being displayed on screen, which I presume means there's only 3 or 4 corners left to go in this race. Elias Panin in the perfect position now to win it for Finland, even though Luke Allen seems like he's going to end up with the fastest lap. Credit to his name. I believe that will be the 2nd time this weekend. As we come down the back straight now one more time with Elias Pan in the red, number 58, driving for Finland. You have to pay some love to the man who's led the race from the first step, but I won't give him the commentator's curse just yet, as Luke Allen is still within striking distance. Is he going to have a look up the inside at turn 15? He definitely goes for it, throws it in there, but he was just a little bit too far back. As we come around turn 15 now, Elias Pan is still at the front, and in just a few moments time he's going to take the flag for Finland, and there he goes, hands in the air. He's got to be overjoyed at that. A fantastic drive from the red number 58, and you can see indeed he's celebrating quite happily there as the drivers now proceed for their cool down lap.
I got a pretty good start, but it's pretty much just leading after lap 1 is gonna win the race. It's so hard to overtake here. There's so much dirt here on the fast corners. So yeah, I managed to not do any mistakes and keep the lead.
I'm very happy to get the 3 wins, and then in that race, obviously Elias got a good start. Me and Elias are veterans now around this track. I mean, we're not going to make any mistakes, especially when one another is right on our tails. And yeah, I mean, I was pushing as hard as I could just to try to get as close as I could and maybe make a move. But yeah, fair play to Elias, didn't make any mistakes, and yeah, finished like that. So I mean, first and the 2nd isn't bad, so I'm happy.
In race 4, I had an okay start. I was in 4th after the 2nd corner, but then a mistake from myself and through 7 and 8 cost me the whole race. So yeah, that's about it.
Race 4 was fun. Running 5th for a long time, I had a good battle with Amit. We were driving, fighting with each other, and then of course he overtook. Good driving from his end, and I think I managed to finish P6.
Yeah, I'm delighted with the result, of course, but overall I'm happy with the way I've progressed through the weekend. I appreciate the help from Gabby and Sandy throughout the weekend, getting me faster and faster each time. So for me, it wasn't about the result, it was about gaining confidence across the whole weekend, and I'm super delighted to represent Qatar this weekend. I'm looking forward to bringing my friends next year.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of the race and indeed the end of the weekend. So for me, Aaron Thompson, thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again next time.